What's up? Hope everyone's having a good day and is ready for another video in the series we like to call Underrated Throwers. Today we got one of the most influential shot putters ever, and I think he's very influential, but just not a lot of people know just how influential he is. And we're talking about Adam Nelson. Now, people who know anything about throwing should know who Adam Nelson is. All right? He's the 2004 Olympic champion. From Athens, the 2005 world champ from Helsinki, and just a plethora of silver medals from worlds. 2000 from Olympic silver from Sydney. Just one of the most dominant shot putters of the 2000s. So, and 22, I think 51 in his PR, and then 22.40 is his PR indoor. And just a very interesting and polarizing thrower for a few reasons. One, let's see, I don't know. It's very hard to describe the career of Adam Nelson because, so, the 2004 medal, and to this day, it still makes me mad. So, if anybody's watched the competition, and it's on YouTube, you'll notice that it says Yuri Bilanog won the comp, the 2004 Olympics, in shot. And Adam Nelson kind of was Tom Walsh before Tom Walsh in a way, in that he would either have a really, really far throw and all the rest of his throws would be fouls, or he would have very low throws but always stay in. So, and as we go through his technique, you'll actually see a lot of similarities to Tom Walsh. But if you look at the 2004 Olympics, so he opened up at like mid to high 21s. I forget because it's in feet. I think it was, I don't know, like it was below 70 feet, I think. It wasn't that impressive, but it was really heartbreaking to see because his first throw, good, and it looked like he was going to hold on to that. He held on to that lead throughout the entire comp until Yuri Bilanog in the last round equaled his distance. Didn't even beat him. He equaled the distance. But because Yuri Bilanog had a second throw further than Adam Nelson, because all of Adam Nelson's throw were fouls, Yuri Bilanog took the gold. And there's a famous famous picture of Adam Nelson crying, like telling the refs his last throw was not a foul, like pointing down. But, it was a foul. On the replay, it was a pretty clear foul. And that broke my heart, honestly, watching that. But in 2013, they retested Yuri Bilanog's drug samples, and he tested positive. I forget what for. The 2004 Olympics was just weird in that almost all the winners for the throwing events all tested positive. So it was very weird. But yeah, so Adam Nelson is a gold medalist for the Olympics, but it was just such a shame that it was after he retired that he got the gold medal, so he never got to actually, for his entire career, he was just known as the silver medal guy, basically, except for the 2005 Worlds. But literally, if you look at all his other medals, they're all silver medals. It is quite crazy, and I'll link his height, weight, and personal best and notable accomplishments in the video description. His height is like 6 foot. He's like 255, which is actually heavier than me. And I think this is another reason why he's very underrated and yet very influential. Is that he was one of the first people that was relatively small, wasn't really that strong. And by strong, I mean strong compared to how far he throws, kind of like Tom Walsh. Like, you would not think someone with his strength levels could throw 22.51. And I'm not saying he's weak, but for like a 22-plus meter shot putter, he's pretty weak. At least from what I know. I could be wrong, but I've seen videos of him lifting, and it wasn't anything too crazy. I've seen a bunch of D1 shot putters put up his numbers. So, and that's not a diss on him. If anything, it's a compliment because, those D1 shot putters don't throw over 22 meters. So, but I think he was very influential in the fact that he proved that you did not have to be the biggest guy in the circuit, in the pro circuit, to win or to medal or do anything or to even throw far. Because 255 is really, really light for a pro shot putter. Usually the minimum weight is like a 280 pounds. And most elite guys, especially most 22-meter guys, are over 300 pounds. And it's saying a lot, especially because he's also not that tall. And I know a lot of rotational athletes are not that tall. But he was pretty short. 6 foot, I mean, that's not that much taller than Joe Kovacs or Reese Hoffa. I think Tom Walsh is like 6'2" or something. I forget. He's not that tall either. He's definitely not there. He's definitely not like Christian Cantwell or Ryan Krauser, where they're like 6'7" plus. But I think another reason why he was so influential is that people started to realize that separation makes you throw far and not jumping in the air. And he was kind of in the era where people were starting to get away from just jumping at the finish, like a John Godina. And, people throw far like that. I mean, if you're strong enough and athletic enough, you can throw far like that. But he was, like, the distances he was throwing, a lot of rotators hadn't been throwing for many, many years. Like, they would hit, like, low 22s, but, like, none of them would be hitting, like, not since, I think, the 80s, really. Like, the whole 90s really was kind of a dead period in shot put, in my opinion. Well, really, only John Godina was really, like, the only guy throwing, like, really far in the 90s. Like, over 22 consistently. And then you just got, like, Adam Nelson, Reese Hoffa, Christian Cantwell, who just broke onto the scene and just started just taking turns, just winning worlds and just dominating. They were the big three for a reason, They were just dominating everything. They dominated for the 2000s decade. Just none of them did not medal in a competition. Like, there wasn't a competition, a major competition that either Adam Nelson, Christian Cantwell, or Reese Hoffa did not medal in, whether it be Worlds or Olympics. And that's saying a lot. Like, that's pretty impressive. And I've done videos on Reese Hoffa and Christian Cantwell, but I saved Adam Nelson because I didn't think he was very underrated, but the more I thought about it, I think people don't realize how impactful he was. One, he was just a fun thrower to watch. If you guys want to watch an entertaining thrower, watch Adam Nelson, because he is so entertaining. He just gets the crowd pumped. It's so exciting to watch him. And if you guys never got the chance to see him, whether in person or in video, look him up because his pre-routine is crazy. He's the definition of an adrenaline-based thrower. Someone that competes very well at a very high adrenaline. So, and yeah, he's just so underrated. And he's inspired a whole generation of throwers. And there are a lot of throwers now that you're starting to see that are building off of what Adam Nelson does. Not as extreme. And I will bring this up, but in his technique. But if anybody's watched Adam Nelson, you probably know the one thing he's known for is his left leg and his really unorthodox throwing. So I'll say, before we get into the technique, I personally would never coach someone to throw like Adam Nelson. At least because he hits very weird positions that only he throws like. And I've only seen it work for him. So I want to make that perfectly clear. And that's not a diss on him. It's just a lot of people cannot do the things that Adam Nelson is about to do in this video. Alright? And if anybody has seen Adam Nelson throw in a video or in person, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, let's just watch this video and see if you can see it. I don't know if you can see that left leg. But, oh, by the way, this is him throwing 22.40, which is his indoor PR. And, 2000, I think this is 2005, Adam Nelson is, in my opinion, peak Adam Nelson. Just when he just got everything together. His technique, I think, was the best. He was the most consistent over 22. And he was a very, like, even when he was older, like in 2011 and stuff, he was still throwing over 22. And I would also say that this kind of style is very foul. I should say it's very easy to foul throws because it's controlled uncontrolledness in a way. Like, you're just relying so much on torque and speed and not really that much strength to throw. So if you do not hit the positions exactly right, you will not throw far. And that's why a lot of people that aren't very good do not throw like this. Or like Tom Walsh. It's a reason why you see Adam Nelson and Tom Walsh and like Zane Weir and people like that who rely a lot on torque and just keep moving the ball. That's why you see them either throw over 22 or throw 20 meters or 21, you know. But usually you'll see their series and it'll be like their first throw is far. Example, when Tom Walsh in 2019 threw 22.90 and then the rest of his throws were fouls. And they were not close fouls either. You know, and you'll see this. Whenever Tom Walsh throws over 22 or whenever Adam Nelson throws over 22, you'll see it. Like, that will be the only throw that they stay fair. That they do not foul. You know, and it doesn't matter because, you know, you only need one throw. You know, Adam Nelson and Tom Walsh are the definition of it only takes one to win. You only need one throw. Which I guess is true, but I value consistency, but I cannot deny the results. And Tom Walsh is my favorite shot putter ever. Well, Reese Hoffa is, but Tom Walsh is my favorite modern day thrower. But let's get into his throw. So one, really wild start. Sorry. I shouldn't say wild. More, I guess, angry in a way. I don't know. Just his whole throw just looks angry. I don't even know if that's a good word. It probably not. It's not the most technical thing in the world. And this is a weird angle. It's kind of aerial, so you can't really see his left foot, which I don't like because he does a lot of good things with his left foot. Well, actually, kind of good things. But really nice stack here. And you'll see in this video, he is so whippy, so flexible, so elastic when he throws. And it's just something beautiful to watch. When he puts a throw together, like this one, it's just crazy to watch. The speed that he does. The speed that he has, the poise, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. When he does it right. When he doesn't, we won't talk about those. This is not a video slandering Adam Nelson. You will never catch me slandering Adam Nelson. Most I ever say is maybe he just wasn't the most consistent thrower in the world. You know? But damn it, I can't argue. When it mattered, he medaled. That's all I gotta say. Even if he didn't win, he made that guy winning work for it. So I will say that. But let's get to his technique. So really aggressive with his left foot. He likes to keep his left arm in inside his knee. which is fine. I personally like throwing the left arm like a Tom Walsh. Really nice here, really nice stack. And I know it doesn't show it, but his left foot is actually pointed that way. Okay. His left foot is actually pointed that way, which is over rotating. But this is when you get to the unorthodox stuff that is Adam Nelson. So if you were to look at this position just right here, his chest is basically facing the ground. His head is looking down. His arm is dipping, kinda. His whole body's just dipping forward. And normally, like if you saw like a high school thrower doing this, you'd be like, oh my god, this guy's not gonna throw far at all. But then Adam Nelson does Adam Nelson, and this is why I say he's not a very good technical model, because this is normally, for 99.9% of throwers, not a good position to be in. You don't want to over-rotate. You don't want to have your chest down like this. And you don't want your hips facing down either. But what he does is he does a really nice pre-turn. And you notice how his whole body's just this way? That's normally not good. But this is where his iconic left foot goes. You notice how his left foot is all the way out here? And goes really wide, high, and then low. Now, this is just something, and I've seen him in interviews talk about it because he's really the only person that throws far that does this. He said this was just a natural thing he did, and he just threw far like this. And then when he went to college, I think he went to Dartmouth. When he went to college, his college coach tried to fix it, but then it's just like, he throws really far doing it, so why not? And he just stuck with it. And later in his career, he tried to lower it and try and throw more traditionally, and he didn't throw very far. Now, you could say it's just because he got old, but I think like the season before he tried to fix it, he was throwing over 22 still, so take that with a grain of salt, I guess, but yeah, I mean, this is such a crazy, non-traditional position. And I don't know if this looks familiar, but this is very Kovacs-esque position, where the chin and shoulder are touching. He's one of the first people to really overemphasize the wrap and really hold the left arm in like this. And you can see it a lot in a lot of modern day throwers. All right. And this position right here, the torque he has in this position, and the reason why he throws so far is because of this left foot. And the reason why this left foot is such a big deal and why this is so impactful to throwing in general is traditionally in shot put, you're taught squeeze the knees together and get the left foot down as quickly as possible. The last part of that is true. You want the left foot to get down as quickly as possible. But people now are starting to coach, don't squeeze the knees. And you want the knees wide and to go around and down. Kind of like another sweep. And the reason why is because you can get so much more torque from that. If you squeeze the knees, you'll be faster at the front, but you won't have that much torque. But as long as you can keep your upper body back, look how long he has his back. So he creates a tremendous amount of stretch in his left side. So when that left side gets down, he's just going. He's moving because he gets all that stretch. And all that stretch that he creates with the wide knees really separates his hips really well. And so he gets a tremendous amount of stretch in his left. And what that does is, one, the second his left foot gets down, his right side doesn't have to work as hard to move because his left side creates so much stretch to snap him around. So you'll see him, and he's not on the ground very long. He's not like turning very much. Let me get this line out of the way. He's not really turning that much on the ground. Like, he does turn. And you notice this a lot with like a Zane Weir and a Tom Walsh. And they don't hold their chest as long as him. Well, actually, Zane Weir actually throws a lot like Adam Nelson in a way. Like, they hit very similar positions. Zane Weir doesn't do this really long, high left leg. But he hits this position, and he finishes a lot like Adam Nelson as well. And so does Tom Walsh. But Tom Walsh doesn't hold his chest that much because he really... And I've seen this in recordings and stuff of his coach, well, his former coach, Dale Stevens and whatnot, that their philosophy was keeping the ball moving and really no stopping and stuff, and the separation just happens, which I personally like. But this is clearly also works. So you get the stretch with your left side. So now the left side is just going around super fast, and it pulls the right side around. And then he has his hip is here, the shot's here. If anybody's throwing shot put knows, that is so much separation. And I especially really like this kind of lean because it's not really a lean, but his hips are so ahead. And normally you would think, oh, this is open. Like, oh, he's landing open here. And you'll see this in Tom Walsh too. That they don't, like, you're taught to land with your both shoulders facing back, instead of having your left shoulder facing that way and your right that way, and your chest facing this way. You're taught to catch with your chest back. And I personally don't like that for shot put, because the shot discus, that's a good cue, because you have to wait for the release a lot longer. But shot put, you don't have a super long path like discus to throw. It's out of your hand a lot quicker. The release happens a lot faster. So it's a lot. I like this position personally. I really like this position because this technically is not open, and I'll tell you why. Because the shot put is still behind his hip. What I define as open is when the shot put is in line or ahead of the hip. So if he had no separation at all, if his hip was back here and the shot was here, that's bad. That's open. But he's not. His hip is, and I know this is blurry, is here. The shot put is right here. So the hip is ahead of the shot. And that's exactly what you want. You notice his left side has so much energy. It's here, and then boom. So he doesn't work the ground as much as you normally would. But you don't want to, because that would slow him down. He does just enough to throw 22-40. Let's not get it twisted. I know we're spoiled in today's shot put world. But back then, especially, throwing 22-40 was the equivalent of throwing like 23 meters today. Like, that was an insane throw. Like, at the time, this was the third best throw in indoor shot history in the world. And I think Tom Walsh is throwing a little further than that. Ryan Krauser definitely has. I don't know, actually, John Kovac hasn't. Dylan Romani has. So, but at the time, this was a crazy throw. 22-40. Basically, like, 22 meters in general was treated like 23 meters back then. We've been really spoiled, ever since 2019, really. Just seeing people just throw 22-90 like it's nothing. But let's not get twisted. 22-40 is a really, really, really big throw. Throughout history, if you threw 22-40, you basically would win any comp ever. Literally, if Dylan Romani was not in this decade, the throws that he'd been putting up in competitions, he would be a multiple-time Olympic gold medalist, a multiple-time world champ. like literally before 2016, if he was in the same era as Adam Nelson, Christian Cantwell, and Reese Hoffa, oh my God, he would be winning so many medals. It'd be crazy. So, it's a really strange time to be a thrower right now. In a good way. But that's part of one of the reasons I think he's very underrated. And why I think Adam Nelson, Christian Cantwell, and Adam Nelson and Reese Hoffa are underrated too is because, you'd see them consistently throw like low 22s and you'd just be like, nowadays be like, oh, that's cool. Like he might make the world's final or something, maybe. Who knows? But back then, it's like, God damn, you're crazy. So I think we've just been spoiled, and I think we'll look back on this decade after Ryan Krauser and stuff, and after Joe Kovacs retire, which will be a very sad day, and just be like, man, these guys were really that good. But let's actually get back to this technique. Sorry, I get so distracted. All right, so really like this finish. And you'll notice his block is fantastic. And you'll notice he's one of the few throwers. I don't think I mentioned this. Maybe I did. But I did, but I didn't go into that much detail. I think I got sidetracked. So, I said he lived in the time in between jumping at the finish and actually rotating and not extending this right knee at the finish, which is more modern, a modern way to throw, and I think a better way, and why people are throwing further today. Adam Nelson was one of the first people to do this, because normally you see people back in the early 2000s and the 90s, and both their legs would just be locked out, and they would be like 2 feet in the air just jumping. A classic example is like Brian Ofield. So, and, if you're roided up and stuff, you could throw 75 feet doing that. But if you're clean and not a 6'5" behemoth that can dunk like a 20-pound shot put like Brian Ofield, then, it's better to finish like this. So he was really one of the first shot putters to actually have like a modern day kind of throw and really, really focused on separation. And I think he started a whole new era of shot put doing this. Other people are separated. Don't get me wrong. You have to be. You have to have separation to throw far. And what I mean by separation is that your lower body is moving faster than your upper body. So they're going at 2 different speeds. So that's what you want. You always want your legs ahead of your upper body. And so that's what you want. That's separation, in case anybody who's new to throwing was watching this. And the reason why you want that is because it creates a torque. And that torque twists you around. Sorry. So you don't have to muscle the shot put. So that's why you need separation. Otherwise, you'll just end up just throwing with your arm instead of your whole body. So, and this isn't a video. If you guys want a video talking about separation, then I'll make it. But this isn't the time for the video because, oh my God, it's already a 28-minute long video. Oof. Sorry, I like to ramble, but I'm a nerd about throwing. So he gets here, really nice finish, really nice block, and you notice how he just keeps on the shot as long. Really, well, maybe you can't see it because of the quality of this video, but really nice finish. Beautiful. Even, shot's out of his hand, but he's still on the ground. Really nice shift. So he's off his right, but his left is still on the ground. This, in my opinion, is the best way to reverse instead of both feet off the ground. So he had a super powerful block. Just stays here beautifully. And so his left foot's here. Where does he reverse? Oh, well, okay. The video shifts forward. So his left foot... Oh, okay. He didn't reverse fully into it. So he kind of torqued a little. So he throws a little to this side. So it wasn't like textbook reverse, but it was close enough. I mean, you can't argue with 2240. You just can't. You know, and again, I would never coach someone to throw like this unless they did this naturally and they threw really far. If I was Adam Nelson's coach, why on earth would I tell him stop doing what makes him throw over 22 meters? And I think that's a valuable lesson for a lot of coaches. And a lot of things I see wrong with a lot of throwing coaches, in my opinion, is that they tend to want everyone to throw super textbook. But no, everyone is different, and everyone needs to throw the way that makes them throw far. Now, it may not look pretty, and it may contradict everything you know about throwing. But damn it, the end of the day, the goal is to throw as far as you can and win. And if the thrower you're coaching does that, screw it. Just let them keep going. Just fine-tune what they're doing. I would dare any coach to walk up to Adam Nelson and be like, oh, yeah, we need to change this left leg, and then you'll throw really far. All right? And even though it won't work because he's tried it, and it took distance off, the coach would just be like, oh, well, actually, this is what it says in this textbook right here, or whatever. And just, if I was Adam Nelson, I would just tell that coach, shut the hell up. I'm going back to the way I was throwing, because I went from 22 to 20 meters. So, and yeah, it just really ticks me off when I see coaches and all their throwers look exactly the same. Like, to a T. Because everyone needs to have their individual little quirks, in my opinion. And that's why I think Vestinus Dyson, Gerd Kanter and Daniel Stahl's former coach and whatnot, and the best, in my opinion, best discus coach ever, I think that's why he's really successful. And you look at almost all the most successful coaches in the world, and you look at the athletes they've coached, none of them look similar at all. Like, Gerd Kanter does not throw like Daniel Stahl. Daniel Stahl does not throw like Simone Peterson. It's totally different. And Don Babbitt, who coached Reese Hoffa and has either worked with Adam Nelson or coached Adam Nelson for a little bit. I know Adam Nelson and Reese Hoffa were training partners. But I don't know if Don Babbitt actually had a hand in coaching Adam Nelson. But you couldn't find two different throwers than Adam Nelson and Reese Hoffa. Their styles are so completely different. And that's the thing. Like, I know if I tried to throw like Christian Cantwell, I would not throw very far. If I tried to throw like Fabrio, I would not throw very far. Because I'm not 6'7", and I'm not super strong. I throw far throwing like Tom Walsh and Adam Nelson. Not even throw that far. I definitely don't throw far compared to them. But, it's just a stylistic thing. So, that's why I think he's super influential. Because I think he brought a lot of things to the modern scene of throwing. Adam Nelson, and Christian Cantwell were the building blocks to what shot put is now. They were the foundation of the modern day thrower, and I think we owe them so much credit to the state that throwing is now. They just brought so much to the sport. They really just emphasized technique over strength. Maybe not Christian Cantwell. But, all these throwers were strong. All the three throwers I named, strong. Definitely strong. Tom Walsh, he's strong. He could bench over 500 pounds. But then you look at Joe Kovacs, you see him benching like 700 pounds for like 10 reps or some stupid stuff like that. Like squatting like 1,000 pounds. And you see Ryan Krauser, like, pin squatting, like, 800 pounds for like 10 reps, like right before meet, and like front squatting like, I don't know, like 600 pounds, like 5 reps, and just like wiping like like one teardrop of sweat out off his forehead and be like, oh, that was hard. Compared to those guys, they're not very strong. But Adam Nelson Tom Walsh throws almost as far as them, being shorter. Well, not shorter than Joe Kovacs, but shorter and weaker than a lot of throwers on the top 25 list. And I think Tom Walsh is like 4th or something, 5th. Adam Nelson, I think, is like 15th or something. I forget. The top 25 list changes all the damn time. But it's just a crazy, crazy world that we're living in for throwing, not just in shot put, in discus as well, but mainly shot put. And you can see in the NCAA as well. I mean, now it takes like 21 meters just to make the NCAA final. So it's just a crazy world. And I think we owe so much to Adam Nelson and Reese Hoffa and Christian Cantwell for building what throwing is now. And that's, I think, the most underrated part. And especially Adam Nelson. I mean, he was just so influential in the things that he did in his career. Showing the highs and lows of a pro shot putter. Really working your ass off to actually get to the top. Because before 2005, before he won the gold in 2005, all he ever knew was silver medals. And he'd be like number 1 in the world and then just come up short and always just get cucked every single throw. Like every single comp. Like, it's not like he would even do bad. But just someone would just beat him by like an inch or something. And it just ate away at him. And then he finally broke through. And you can watch the 2005 World Champs and you'll see at the end, he just burst into tears. And he had his LeBron 2012 moments. Like, it's about damn time. It's crazy. And it's really fun to watch his career play out and to see just the emotion he had for the sport, just everything. I say had like he's dead or something. He's not dead, but I mean, he's retired. So, and I mean, he's one of the most influential throwers, not only to me, but for a whole generation. Whether you know it or not, you've been influenced by Adam Nelson. Because the person that's coaching you or your teammates or whatever, the people that have gone before you always have a huge impact on you and your throwing career. So whether you know it or not, the things that Adam Nelson did have influenced modern day throwing. Considerable amount. I think a lot more than Reese Hoffa and Christian Cantwell. Not to diss them or anything, but he really threw a lot like modern day throwers. And he was a big inspiration. He was one of the first people to throw like really high 22 meters, not being that big. Like I was saying, I can't say how insane it is. And that's why I think Zane Weir is also insane. Because Zane Weir, I think, weighs like 240 or something. Like I got 10 pounds on Adam Nelson and Zane Weir. Like, I'm like 260. And I'm not throwing 22 and going to Olympics and stuff. But it's crazy to think that people this size can throw shot put over 22 meters. That's basically unheard of. And it's because they use their body and they move in very unconventional but very separated ways, and they're super disciplined. And with this kind of finish, with this kind of style, with the kind of wide knees, maybe not this wide, I will look more at Tom Walsh and Zane Weir more than Adam Nelson for a technical model. But Tom Walsh and Zane Weir were influenced by Adam Nelson. And I may be putting words in their mouth, but judging by how they throw, I don't see how they couldn't have been influenced by Adam Nelson. I mean, they hit like this position right here is basically how Tom Walsh lands in the front. Basically. Maybe their back and middle aren't the same, but also Adam Nelson, I feel, and I know this is an offset position. You notice it's very familiar because a lot of throwers nowadays, including myself, throw in an offset position. And what I mean is because normally you throw with like your feet here, you know, in line with the toe board and your belly button's in the middle. Like this. But his left foot is in the center of the ring. Is lined up through the center. And I think he was one of the first throwers, one of them. I think I did a video on on what I believe is the first one to offset like this and have success. And I personally think that if you're short and weak, and this is one of the reasons why like Zane Weir, Tom Walsh, and Adam Nelson throw really far, is because they start offset. Because when you're really small, you have to rely so much on momentum to help you rather than brute strength. So this offset allows you to use a lot more, allows you to make the ring bigger. You know, instead of throwing inside this, now you're throwing inside this. Instead of this. You know, and oh, here we go. I forgot I can do this. So instead of throwing like that, now you're throwing here. So you have all this rather than that. You have all this time to build energy, build strength, build momentum throughout the throw. And this allows you to create so much more separation and so much more momentum out the back, which helps you be a lot faster through the ring and a lot more fluid. You tend to see throwers that start offset and they start a lot faster. And that's because they have to rely on their speed and their fast twitch fibers, muscle fibers, to move the shot. Because they can't rely on the 300 pounds of mass moving them to accelerate. So they tend to throw super, super fast. They still accelerate, but they go a lot faster out the back than people who start traditionally, like a Joe Kovacs. So that's another thing also that you'll tend to see. And that's more because they have to throw far. You know, because you have to throw a lot faster to throw further if you're not that big and you're not that strong. So the advantage also that short people have in rotational shot put, and part of the reason why the rotational shot was created, is so you can develop more momentum than a glide shot putter. So that's another thing too. So that's just something else to keep in mind. But yeah, oh my god, it's a 43-minute video. But yeah, sorry to take it this much time. I just feel so passionately about Adam Nelson because it takes me off when I ask people, I'm like, oh, do you know who Adam Nelson is? And they're like, no. I'm like, how do you not know who Adam Nelson is? That's like not knowing who Gerd Kanter is, or Virgilis Alekna, or Koji Morifushi. Like, that's insane to me. That is just crazy. And, yeah, I mean, that's like if you're growing up in shot put today, and like 10 years from now, you ask someone, oh, like, have you ever heard of Joe Kovacs or Tom Walsh or Ryan Krauser? And they're like, no, not really. And they're like, what are you doing here? What? Go away. Get out of my face. But, yeah. I mean, I just love his throw. The definition of, if you want to teach someone what separation is, just watch a video of Adam Nelson, and you'll see immediately. Oh my god. I can watch Adam Nelson throw all day. His throw is just something to behold. Again, not the most traditional throw in the world. Definitely would not coach this. Unless I get Adam Nelson 2.0, in which case, you know, I'm dying happy if I got to coach someone as great as Adam Nelson. That would be insane. So, but, I mean, yeah. Hope you guys learned something. Again, I'll link his personal best, his height, weight, and notable accomplishments in the video description. And I'll see y'all later. Have a good one.